everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. We're going to be digging into something I think a lot of you are concerned about these days, and you've sent in a ton of stuff about this. The environmental impact of big tech. We're talking articles, reports, even a YouTube video or two, which is always fun.
Always good to have options.
For sure. So we're diving headfirst into this whole idea of, okay, we love our tech, can't live without it, but at what cost, right?
Oh.
What's the impact on the planet?
Yeah, and it's something that's, I think, often overlooked. I mean, we're quick to point fingers at the heavy industries, the factories and such, but the tech sector, it's kind of this silent giant chucking away in the background.
Right, totally. And I feel like we were sold this idea back in the day that going digital was going to be good for the environment. Like less paper, less waste. Wasn't that the whole pitch?
Oh, absolutely. Less paper, more trees, everyone wins.
Right, exactly. So what happened?
Well, I think the issue is there were some environmental benefits, don't get me wrong, but it's like we kind of stopped there. We forgot that all this digital stuff, it doesn't just magically exist in the cloud.
It's not all ones and zeros floating around in cyberspace.
Exactly. It takes a lot of energy to power our digital lives.
Yeah.
And that's where things get complicated.
Okay, so break it down for us. What are we talking about here specifically?
Well, the website Planet article you sent, it had some pretty eye-opening stats. Did you know that the tech industry currently accounts for like 3.5% of global emissions?
3.5%? Honestly, that doesn't sound too terrible.
Right. But here's the kicker. That's more than the entire aviation industry combined.
Whoa, okay. Suddenly puts things in perspective.
And that number is only going up. Think about it. If the tech industry were a country, we'd be talking about a major player on the world stage in terms of emissions.
Wow. Okay, so where does all this energy consumption even come from?
Well, think about those massive data centers. The server farms, all those blinking lights, humming away 24/7, just so we can binge watch our favorite shows.
It's like an invisible city powering our digital lives. I never really thought about it like that.
Right. Out of sight, out of mind, as they say. But those data centers require massive amounts of energy. And not just to run the servers themselves, but also to keep them cool. All those computers generate a ton of heat.
Makes sense. You're basically air conditioning a small country, right?
Pretty much. And that's just one piece of the puzzle. We haven't even gotten to the environmental impact of manufacturing all this tech in the first place.
Okay, so maybe those paper cuts weren't so bad after all.
Well, it's not quite that simple. But it does make you think, right? Because here's the thing. Most of us, we don't see those data centers. We don't feel the heat. So it's easy to forget that our digital actions have real-world consequences.
That's so true. Like, it's not something you think about when you're scrolling through Instagram or whatever.
Exactly. But every click, every download, every email we send, it all adds up.
That reminds me of something I read in that website Planet article. They said that scrolling through TikTok for an hour a day is like driving a gas-powered car for over 300 miles in a year.
See? It's all connected.
Definitely makes you think twice about those mindless scrolling sessions. Yeah, 300 miles, that's like a road trip. Yikes! Okay, so speaking of things that require a closer look, let's talk about this whole carbon neutral thing. It's everywhere these days. Every tech company seems to be shouting it from the rooftops.
Right, it's the buzzword of the century, practically. And that FinShots article you sent, it really digs into that.
Yeah, it kind of made me wonder, is it all it's cracked up to be? Because, on the surface, it sounds great. Plant some trees, invest in renewable energy, boom, you're carbon neutral. Problem solved, right?
Well, not so fast. It's definitely more complicated than that. The idea behind carbon neutrality, the whole balancing act of emissions and offsets, it's a good goal in theory, absolutely. But the devil is in the details, as they say.
Okay, so what are the details we're missing here? What's the catch?
One of the big ones that FinShots highlighted is this thing called REC's renewable energy certificates. Basically, companies can buy these certificates from renewable energy projects like wind farms or solar plants, and it lets them claim they're using that green energy.
Hold on, so they're not actually using renewable energy, they're just buying, like, a certificate that says they are?
That's the gist of it. I mean, it's a little more nuanced than that. Buying these RECs, it does support the development of renewable energy, but it doesn't necessarily mean that a company's actual operations are powered by that energy.
Okay, so it's like, I'm buying a bunch of organic vegetables, but then I'm still ordering takeout every night.
Pretty much. You're supporting the idea of organic food, but you're not actually changing your own eating habits.
So there's this disconnect between the image they're putting out there, the whole we're carbon neutral thing, and what's really going on. It's like greenwashing almost.
Right. And Finchon's pointed out that this is something that a lot of big tech companies are doing, including some really big names.
Yeah, like Amazon, right? They were one of the examples in the article. Didn't they get called out for that?
Oh, big time. Apparently, despite their claims about being carbon neutral, a huge chunk of their energy consumption, something like 78%, still comes from non-renewable sources.
78%. Seriously, that's like almost all of it. It's kind of disheartening, to be honest. Like, are we ever going to get a straight answer from these companies?
It's tough. And I don't think it's just a tech industry problem either. I think a lot of industries are probably using similar tactics.
Yeah, you're probably right. It's like everyone's trying to look good, but nobody wants to do the actual work.
It's a tough problem to solve for sure. But hey, at least we're talking about it, right? Bringing it out into the open is the first step.
True that. Okay, so we've uncovered some, let's say, uncomfortable truths about the tech industry's environmental impact. But, it's not all doom and gloom, right?
Yeah.
You also sent over that video from Climate Tech Talks, and I have to say, it was surprisingly optimistic.
Yeah, for sure. It felt like they were actually hopeful about the future of tech and sustainability.
Yeah, and I think a big part of that is that the tech industry, they're not oblivious to all of this. They see the writing on the wall. There's pressure from investors, from consumers, from, well, the planet itself.
Right. It's not like they can just ignore it anymore. Exactly. And I think that pressure is starting to lead to some real change.
Like what? Give me some examples.
Well, like in that FinShots article, remember how they talked about Google and Microsoft, those big pledges to use 100% renewable energy for their data centers?
Yeah, by 2030, right? Still a while to go, but hey, it's a start.
Totally. And not just that, they're talking about 247 renewable energy, which is a whole other level. It means they're really serious about making sure their operations are powered by clean energy all the time, not just when it's convenient.
Wow, 24/7. That's impressive.
It is. And it's not just those two. Remember that website Planet piece about cryptocurrency?
Yeah, that's a wild one.
So they talked about how Ethereum, which used to be a huge energy hog, they actually switched over to a way less energy-intensive model.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Something about proof of stake, right?
Exactly. And it made a huge difference. It's like they dramatically reduced their energy consumption almost overnight.
Wow. Okay, so it's not all talk then. Some companies are actually putting their money where their mouth is.
Yep. And I think we'll see more and more of that as time goes on.
Mm-hmm.
Because the thing is, sustainability, it's not just good for the planet, it's also good for business.
Right. Consumers are getting more aware of this stuff all the time.
Exactly. People want to support companies that align with their values. So it's in everyone's best interest to move towards a more sustainable future.
Totally. So where do we go from here? What can we do as like regular people?
Honestly, I think awareness is half the battle. Just being informed about this stuff, like you are by doing this deep dive, is huge. And then it's about making conscious choices.
Like what? Give us the goods?
Well, for one, you can support companies that are making a real effort to reduce their environmental impact. Vote with your wallet, as they say.
Love it. What else?
And then, on a personal level, just be mindful of your own digital footprint. Maybe cut back on those TikTok binges.
Hey, I resemble that remark.
We all do. But seriously, every little bit helps.
This has been super insightful. Definitely gave me a lot to think about. And who knew talking about data centers could be so fascinating?
Right. It's like a whole hidden world out there.
Well, thanks for shedding some light on it for us, literally. And for everyone listening, we hope this deep dive has given you some food for thought. Keep those questions coming, and we'll keep digging into the topics that matter to you. Until next time.